وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي، أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا مع ليلى الحسيني في بث حي ومباشر وعبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning Michigan with Layla Al-Husseini. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues with your host, Layla Al-Husseini.
Good morning and thank you for being with us. This is Khalil Hachem, editor of VMMichigan.com, the fastest growing digital business magazine in the Middle Eastern communities in Michigan. Welcome to this spring day in the changing weather of Michigan, and thank you for being with us. Today, this morning is a little bit cold, but we're told the weather is going to be better in the afternoon. Temperature is around the 60s, and we look forward to it after a cold and a damp day yesterday. The number here is 248-557-3300. Please give us a call should you have a question or a comment. Today we're going to be talking about a very important issue. This is an issue that's been playing out in the nation more so than before, and this year is more than any other years. The U.S. has seen at least 147 mass shootings in 2021, claiming about 500 dead and or injured. Bloody scenes are playing nationwide. Last time I looked at it, it was more than 30 states. Some mass shootings are big and huge. They make national news, some don't. And this could happen anywhere. In most cases, the motive remains unknown, or the shooting is blamed on mental illness. What is going on? Why are we getting so many mass shootings now? How can we protect ourselves from mass shootings? How much does mental illness is contributing to the crisis? In the first part of the program, we're going to be talking to our dear friend, Chief Haddad. And in the second part of the program, we'll be talking to Dr. Mohamed Kamel. He's a psychiatrist, and we'll be talking about the mental health issue. And, it's just heartbreaking when you see all these images. And it's just, we just need to know what is going on. Good morning, Chief, and thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, good morning. It's quite a somber discussion to have on a Friday, isn't it?
It is, but, we have to do what we have to do. Chief Haddad is a well-known source and authority on law enforcement and is sought after worldwide for his experience. Recently, the Chief and his department were part of a white paper that was authorized by the chief and other chiefs in the state, and that particular paper is appearing on the Georgetown Law Center, and as an example of how to build trust between the police department and communities. And congratulations, Chief, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Yeah, that paper was written in response to George Floyd and that incident. And our hope with that paper is that we can generate some hope and some path forward, both for the community and for law enforcement.
Wonderful.
We face some very challenging times in our country, to say the least.
Absolutely, and good work, Chief. This is really incredible. Chief, what's going on? Why are we getting so many mass shootings?
That's the million-dollar question. I can't tell you why, but I can just tell you that it's so. It is happening, and like you mentioned at the opening, we're up to 150 mass shootings across the country right now, and sometimes some people would like to think that it's just in the urban areas, but when you look at the map, there's small cities, large cities. Every state across the union has had a mass shooting, just about. So there's no rhyme or reason as to where they happen, but there's certainly compelling evidence and observation that they're happening everywhere across our country. So, we do have to come to grips with it. We have to figure out why it's happening. I don't think it's a secret that the greatest country on earth is also the most violent country on earth, and that lends into how people behave overall. You mentioned mental illness. Clearly, many of the case studies I've looked at, mental illness has played an important part or a major part in the event happening. And there were some very critical pieces that we took away. Number one, the majority of the mass shooters did not have a long history of contact with law enforcement. So law enforcement ahead of time did not know or, have a lot of contact with these individuals. Second thing is that they were given access to guns, and the system failed in that regard because they were allowed either to purchase a gun, or in some cases they were given guns by people who knew that they had mental illness. Sandy Hook, for example, that young man there that killed those 26 or 29 kids and the mother knew that he had a severe mental illness, a mental fitness issue, but yet she trained him and bought assault rifles for him. The third thing is that people usually know ahead of time that this person that they know has taken a new interest in weapons, has exhibited violent behavior, and they fail to do anything constructive to get the person help. So I think that in the mass shooters that we see around the country, almost every time that it occurs, somebody is found that they knew or believed or suspected that this person was going to commit some type of atrocity and took no action, or took not enough action to prevent it.
What do we need to do? Do we need to do more awareness? Do we need to change the laws? What do we need to do?
I would say awareness is the greatest component to build trust in the community. For example, here in Dearborn, we, again, several years ago now, developed a nationally recognized law enforcement intervention model for mental fitness. And we've had 6 or 7 people that we took and got help for because their families, their schools, their mosque, their church turned them in before it happened. And although you can't measure something that did not happen, I can tell you that all of them were teetering on violence. And one was so far along the way that we had to report to the FBI, and they had to interview that individual, and we get a call a few hours later. Yep, come and get them and take them to psych. So, they all had mental fitness issues. But again, the people of this community trusted, and it went right across the spectrum. Right across the spectrum. Somebody from every side of the community, schoolmates, work partners, everybody in these 7 cases did the right thing. And what didn't happen is, A, the person teetering on violence did not harm themselves, and equally, probably more important, because if they do something like a mass shooting, it involves a lot of people, a lot of tragedies. No one else got hurt. Is it the clear answer? No, it's just a answer. I think there has to be a holistic approach. You're going to talk to Dr. Kamel later, and I think that HEPA does allow doctors to report people that they feel are going into, an act of violence, but there's always a reluctance to do that. And again, we did a lot of studies and reached out across the nation to try to, forge a better relationship with the medical and healthcare professionals. And, it is a sensitive subject because the healthcare professionals will tell us that less than 2% of people with mental fitness issues escalate to the type of violence we see, and they're more concerned about the 98%. And it's a legitimate argument. that the 98% people that don't ever engage in such violent acts, they don't want their rights or any kind of legal imposition on them, and it's a fair discussion. But again, to your point, I think that awareness and education to our community and to the nation on a whole, that we cannot sit idle when we know that one of our loved ones is teetering on such violence, or a co-worker, or somebody at school. And when you talk about everything that's threatening our civilization, we had the highest suicide rate among youth. It was a 20-year high last year. If if COVID wasn't serious enough, if the opioid epidemic that everybody seems to have forgotten about isn't destroying our society, if George Floyd wasn't a wake-up call, we had more youth suicides on our college campuses and other places than ever in the history of our country and over the last 20 years since they've been tracking them. And again, it shows that we have a large segment of our community that is in need of mental fitness and health issues. They're in need of support. They're in need of intervention. And it's at an all-time high. And so awareness and commitment across the board, I think you need a holistic approach. It's got to be the medical profession. It's got to be law enforcement. It's got to be, our schools, faith-based organizations, community groups, family units. We're facing a horrible crisis in our country, and it's not going to get better by making it a Second Amendment issue or a First Amendment issue or a constitutional issue and fight it in the courts along those lines. It's not going to get it any better. So we as a nation have to come to grips and do the right thing.
When it comes to laws, do we need to change any laws? Would it make it easier for you?
For the last 10 years, we've been talking about common sense, gun laws, checks, have a 5, a 6, a 10-day period. They call it cooling down period, where you do an actual check to make sure. But guns are so plentiful in our country and on our streets. Even if you don't have the wherewithal to get them legally, you can get them illegally. But I think a good measure would be to use those common sense approaches, background checks. I think during the president's speech the other night, I caught a very small part of it, and the part I caught, if I understood it right, again, I had no context because I only caught a very small part of it. The president said that every month 50 women are killed by their spouses or their significant others in our country with a gun every month. And so, it's a very complicated issue. I think that as a nation, we have to come to grips with the problem. We have to admit that it's a problem, and everyone has to take a firm stand. But there's some common sense, measures we can take. I will never be convinced that we need AR-15s with the large, clips or magazines on the street. Nothing good has ever become of that. There's no documented cases where anybody, protected their homes or their lives with a weapon of that nature. And people get angry with me, but it is a critical, weapon. It's a military-style weapon, and there's no room for it on the street. I don't think police officers or citizens should be confronted by that weapon at 3 o'clock in the morning anywhere in America.
Yeah. Chief, what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
Okay.
While we've been staying safe at home, scientists have been on a journey. The destination, a COVID-19 vaccine. This journey began decades ago with research into other coronaviruses. Scientists built from there with months of research and development, cooperation with other experts worldwide, and clinical trials on tens of thousands of volunteers of diverse race, age, and health status. They arrived at a safe, effective vaccine, and hundreds of thousands in Michigan have already been vaccinated. But the next step is ours. We need to get the vaccine when we can. Keep wearing masks correctly and taking precautions until we reach our destination, freedom from COVID-19, and getting back to the lives we love. Discover the facts for yourself at michigan.gov/COVID vaccine. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Donna, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.
When it comes to reproductive medicine, IVF Michigan Fertility Centers are the recognized leaders. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 5 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. As a founding member of IVF Michigan Fertility Centers, Dr. Nicholas Shama is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. Dr. Shama has performed over 10,000 IVF cases and has helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. American board certified in both obstetrics and gynecology and reproductive endocrinology and infertility, Dr. Nicholas Shama is a very caring, compassionate, expert physician that understands not only the medical but also the emotional toil of infertility on his patients. When it's time, get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio. Call toll-free 855-952-9600, 855-952-9600. Get ready for an amazing experience at Ishtar Restaurant on 15 Mile Road in Sterling Heights. Enjoy excellent hospitality from owners Ali Al-Baghdadi and Fatty Bonham, serving the best in Mediterranean food. Try Chef Ali Al-Baghdadi's famous shawarma, the best Iraqi grills and food, and the best Arabic and international dishes. Dine in our authentic atmosphere or take out. Call 586-698-2585 or check us out on Facebook. Ishtar Restaurant practices all CDC guidelines and is open every day 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Have an amazing experience today at Ishtar Restaurant, 3625 15 Mile Road, Sterling Heights.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. We're talking to Dearborn Police Chief Haddad, Ron Haddad, in regard to mass shooting. Chief, this could happen anywhere. I mean, we have so far about 30-something states this is happening, reporting mass shooting. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It can happen anywhere. And, here in Dearborn, we made it a point to train all of our apartment buildings, all of our senior citizen buildings, all the schools, as many of the places of worship as possible, major corporations, malls. We've done active shooter training. We have developed a rapid response team that are on the street all the time in the event that we get something like that. And I feel that the response is as good as it can be. I know that I'm confident something like this were to occur, we could mitigate it quite quickly. But the thing is, if people recognize something out of place, or if they feel somebody's embarking on violence, and we're acutely aware of the mental fitness issues in our society, and we know that a trip to jail is not going to fix it. So we work hand in hand with our mental health professionals and families on a regular basis to neutralize any threat and to try to get the person much needed assistance and aid. So I think that if we keep those measures in mind and be very mindful of your surroundings, we can at least...
Jerry is on the line. Jerry, good morning.
Morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Khalil, and thank you for taking my call. And
You're
good
welcome.
morning.
You don't have a lot of time.
Chief,
What's the question?
Haddad.
What's the question, Jerry?
Thank you, Chief, for your service to the community. I have two questions for you, Chief Haddad. I would appreciate the answer. The first question, don't you think a copycat play a big role on a few of mass shooting in our country? That's question number one. Number two, Chief Haddad, Congresswoman from 13th District, Ms. Rashida Tlaib, asked the Congress in many occasions to abolish the police department and disfund the police. What is Chief Haddad answer for that? Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Let me answer your second question first.
Yeah.
I appreciate all members that have the courage and ability to serve in our Congress, including Ms. Tlaib, but I definitely do not agree with her opinion that police should be abolished. I don't agree with that at all, and she's entitled to her opinion.
We don't either, Chief.
I don't agree with her. So anyway, having said that, it does appear that if they're not copycats, people that are, at the end of the line, they're hopeless, they're depressed, they're angry. They do want to make a last stand and make a last point. So maybe the fact that they're going to get attention, they're going to go out in a blaze of glory, if you will. That appears to be a common element of some of the mass shootings. So yeah, they resemble one another, and you might say that they're copycats. I think that certainly, many of these actions are learned behavior, so people see them and they do copy them in that regard. But I'm not going to suggest that, in and of itself, it makes people do it. There's many other elements, and it's far more complex than just to say somebody copied someone else.
No problem. Chief, let's say I'm somewhere and I hear shootings, and then it's established some kind of mass shooting, active mass shooting. What should I do?
Well, the first thing you should do is make sure you're out of danger. And then with that, you should call 911 and report it, and be as much help to get officers to the right location where you hear the shootings. In general, we tell people that they have three options. If they can hide at their location and be safe, if that doesn't work, then they have to run, and then if that doesn't work, they may have to fight. And they're not really anything. They're not the best position to find yourself in. But again, we've trained people on how to defend themselves and protect themselves, and also how to help mitigate. Some areas might be a place that we set up triage or communications, or some place for the media. So we've given our community a wide range of training on how to identify, how to report, and God forbid, how to be a part of mitigation and self-protection if you find yourself in the middle of it.
Is hiding an option? Let's say you're caught up at the mall and you don't know, and there's a place to hide.
Yeah, it's an option. I mean, you just have to measure what the best option is. But yeah, if you're caught somewhere, and you can conceal yourself, and the concealment does give you some protection. A metal cabinet, you're out of sight, behind a pillar, to protect yourself. Yeah, hiding is recommended, just to stay out of eyesight and hopefully out of the path. But it's just unfortunate that we even have to worry about it. You got to always watch your surroundings and make sure that if something looks suspicious, then you should go the other way and call security or call the police. And there's no way to predict where it's going to happen. We know that it's happened at churches, happened at malls, happened at schools, which seems to be one of the number one places. Happened at shipyards. It's happened at post office. It's happened everywhere. Courthouses.
Yeah.
street corners. So we just have to be vigilant. But I believe as a nation, we have to come up with a comprehensive plan that we're going to eradicate a lot of these violent acts and to get the social service needs to the communities that need it. There's a Dr. Anthony Aiton out in California, and he can tell you by zip code where crime or these kind of things might happen without looking at any crime rates. And he can give you an average life expectancy by zip code. He's just a fascinating, he's a doctor, an MD, and he's a lawyer. He's done fascinating work in public health, and I would suggest to anybody that wants to get a very clear and different perspective on how deep and how this problem has to be attacked, they should look up Dr. Anthony Aiton, and you'd be fascinated.
Is there anything I haven't asked you that people need to know?
No, I think you've covered everything. I would just want to add one thing that people, even with the coronavirus, they're more on edge. There's more anxiety in our community and in our country, and in the world for that matter. We've been thrusted out of a stable, normal environment. So I think if we're mindful of that and be patient with one another, look out for your family members, because you see when their nerves are frayed, we'll get through this in a much better, safer way. And I don't want anyone to find a tragedy compounded by the fact that we're all anxiety driven by COVID right now. So we're going to get through COVID. The world has changed, but be mindful of that as well, that sometimes we're short-tempered and we don't know why. Absolutely. But it's because of the situation we find in the world.
As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We thank you so much for all you do to keep us safe.
All right, thank you. Appreciate being with you.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break. Please stay tuned.
It's a bridge to better days. The path back to celebrations with family. Nights out on the town with friends. Game days with your favorite sports teams. And the thrill of live concerts. But until we can all get the COVID-19 vaccine and build community immunity, which will take time, we all need to continue to stay careful. Because Michigan's recovery is depending on you, and so are your family, friends, and neighbors. So even after you're vaccinated, wear a mask, avoid large gatherings, and social distance. One day in the near future, we will all be able to put this pandemic behind us. But until then, spread hope, not COVID. Learn more at michigan.gov/coronavirus. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab offers a great array of your favorite Mediterranean meals. Meals range from lamb specialties, shawarma sandwiches, and seafood dinners. Plus, they offer big trays of your favorite food and so much more. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab is located at 32839 Northwestern Highway in Farmington Hills and is open from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So stop in or call Kashat's today at 248-538-9552. That number again, 248-538-9552. Kashat's Mediterranean Market in Shish Kebab will definitely leave you satisfied.
When you're looking for the best in optical care, Dr. Imad Nakash is your doctor to see. With years of experience and thousands of successful procedures performed, you can trust your eyes to Dr. Imad Nakash. See Dr. Imad Nakash and his professional staff for your eye care needs. There's 2 locations to serve you. In Hazel Park, call 248-336-3937. 248-336-3937. In Rochester Hills, call 248-299-3937. That's 248-299-3937.
Enjoy the first Syrian-style cuisine in Michigan. At Damas Cuisine and Catering, you'll find a wide selection of Syrian foods and sweets in our menu, like frikeh, hoisin, grape leaves with steak, mishawi platter, hot mahashi, char-grilled kebab, shawarma, and much more. Get super fast delivery from Damas Cuisine and Catering right to your door. Order online at damascuisine.com/menu and track your order live. Damas Cuisine and Catering, 28841 Orchard Lake Road in Farmington Hills. Call 248-987-4985.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. The number here is 248-557-3300. We were talking to Dearborn Police Chief about mass shootings, and he mentioned that in many cases of these shootings, mental illness play a role. We are joining with Dr. Mohamed Kamel this morning to shed light on this issue of mental illness. Dr. Kamel is a board-certified psychiatrist practicing psychiatry in Maryland. He is also the medical director at Allegany County Health Department in Maryland. He finished his medical training in psychiatry from the University of Missouri, Kansas City, and had a 1-year fellowship of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry from Rutgers University. Dr. Kamel, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us and taking time to be with us in this early morning during Ramadan. Happy Ramadan to you.
Happy Ramadan to you too. Thank you for having me. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. You know, the chief mentioned that in many of the cases, mental illness, has had a role in mass shootings. And some people argue that the authorities are hiding behind the mental illness issue. Where's the truth here?
Okay. So to be able to answer this important question, we need to know first the definition of mental illness and what is the percentage of all mass shooting related to mental illness, and whether all mentally ill individuals are responsible for their actions or not. So these are three very important questions. So first, we need to define what is mental illness. Mental illness. So if anyone has like changes in emotions or behavior or cognitive thinking, or all of them, and these changes are associated with problem in functioning. So have problem with functioning socially, at work or at home with their family. Like if it starts to make them not able to, I don't want to go to work, I don't want to go to school, have really affecting their life. If we look at that mental illness in the United States, about like 19% of adults in the United States experience some sort of mental illness. It's like one in 5, and also 1 in 6 youth aged starting from 6-year-old until 17-year-old. There are 1 in 6 that experience mental illness. This is very important to understand. So we cannot say we have 52.5 million Americans have some sort of mental illness. What are the percentage of these? This number is responsible for mass shooting. Blaming mental illness as the main reason for mass shooting, for me, is a little misleading. For me, it's like, when I looked at the data, it's like 1 to 4% of all mass shooting in the United States caused by individuals with mental illness. And there is a recent study done by Dr. Brocado in Columbia University. He and his colleagues actually analyzed more than 1,000 mass murders of all types that occur worldwide, not just in the United States. And they found that among all these mass murderers, that includes fire explosives, poison, stabbing, driving vehicles into crowds, and it has also mass shootings. Among all of these, about 11% had serious mental illness, and only 8% of mass shooting had serious mental illness. This is worldwide. they actually found, interestingly, they found that the risk factors for mass shooting that found the individuals who had legal histories, and they used drug use, of course, and abused alcohol. These are the main reason for that.
The chief mentioned something interesting. He mentioned mental fitness and mental illness. Is there a difference between the two?
Well, so if you look at that, mental fitness is, for me, is the ability to control your emotion in certain situations, and it's not an illness. So illness, as I said before, is to consider someone has like a disorder or mentally ill. You have some sort of criteria that at the end it affects his own or her own life functionally. So he's not able to communicate with loved ones, for example, isolating themselves, having problem at work, having problem with their family, and etc. For mentally fit, that if you are in a certain situation that needs you to react, how much power you have to control your emotion at a certain time. So it's there is difference, of course, but mentally fit for me is like a person. For someone who has like a mass shooting plan, if you're talking about mass shooting with mentally fit,
sure.
It's not, because it's not a reactive thing. Mentally fit, you can say, if someone like hit you and in an argument, what is your reaction to that? Are you going to kill him? Are you going to call the police on him? This is how fit you are to control your anger at that point. But with the mass shooting, there is planning for that. If you look at most of the mass shooting, they actually having their own websites, and they are like asking questions. How can I do this? And people are suggesting things. So it's planned and prepared. Hence we come to the third question. If even you have a mental illness, if you have some kind of mental illness, if we have
Did we lose Dr. Kamel?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Okay. We will try to reestablish connection with Dr. Kamel. And, this is a very... Mike, please let me know when Dr. Kamel is back on the line.
Will do, yep.
Okay. It's really, heartbreaking when, you get the news that somebody is or somebody is involved in something like that. Or if, heaven forbid, you're at the mall and or anywhere, like the chief said, and shooting begins, or now what do we do? And I agree with the chief, when he said that, try to get away, try to report it, try to hide. These are the best things to do.
He's back.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you back on, Dr. Kamel?
Yes. I don't know what happened.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
That's fine. I don't know when did I lose the connection.
We were talking about the third answer, and then the line dropped.
Okay. So I was talking about if we have some kind of mental illness, are we responsible for our actions or not?
Exactly.
So if I have like depression, if I have anxiety, am I responsible for my actions, and or it's out of my hands here? So we have two different types. It's very, very, very rare to find someone who has a delusion, for example, and some people, they were out of touch of reality, at the time of mass shooting, because this is core of the whole thing. For example, if I believe that these people are like demons, they want to kill me, so I see them like that. It's completely delusions, and go and kill them because of that. It's extremely rare. What we see mostly is a planned shooting. So most of people have mental illness. It's extremely rare to have someone who has out of touch with reality at the time of mass shooting.
Now, it's like a loved one or somebody around me that is exhibiting certain signs. What should I look for if I recognize any issues that I need to either, not necessarily confront, but I need to report that? What should I look for?
Well, I believe it's one big thing. So a lot of things. One thing is, if you find out there is change in behavior because the ways start to deal with the family is different. If you're talking about that, like a family,
sure.
If
family
a
or
child or their friends, if they start to be isolated, for example, if they are talking about like life in a different way, and then like there's nothing worth living. People are bad. People, this world is we live in a jungle, and keep talking about in a way that should grab your attention. That there is some sort of change here. One thing I advise parents mainly to look at their kids, what they are doing online. There's a lot of things. It's about ideology. For example, if you see white supremacy, if you see people like they feel that they are so oppressed and there is no justice, this world is against them. It's all these ideas, and if they are connected to the wrong person while they are online or like playing games, for example, online with other people, the parents should be like observing that and looking at that. And if they start to, like as I said before, isolating themselves, start to be angry more, so they need a serious discussion with them to understand what's going on with them. I'm talking about mentally. If it's like seriously, people are talking out loud that they want to have, because that happened when you look at the mass shooting. They were talking that they will do this. They are just preparing the right time and the day to do that.
It's very difficult to tell somebody that they're having a mental issue, or maybe you shouldn't tell them at all. What's the best way to deal with it?
If someone has mental issues?
Yeah. Like you're recognizing things are not going well, things are not going right. You don't want to go tell them that you're having a mental issue. What's the best way to deal with it? What kind of intervention you recommend?
That depends how this person is close to you. If they are like your close friend, so there is a room to talk to them. There is a room to discuss all the ideas that they are like thinking about or having, and try to understand. The best thing is not to be confrontational in this situation. It's because most of these people are insecure. They need security in a way or other. So security is someone, if they find someone can listen to them, so find someone can understand what they are saying, if they are really mentally ill, not like ideology related. So if someone is very angry, for example, if someone is on medication, is not taking medication, it's easy to communicate with them. If you find out that there is a real problem, try to connect with the mental health professionals, or like the call 911 if you think it's a real problem.
Yeah. At what point should I call, a mental health professional?
As I said before, if our beloved ones or our friends start to act differently, if they don't go to school, if they don't want to see me, or having going out with their friends anymore, if they are talking about life is useless, if they feel themselves are worthless, if they start to not have interest in anything, so there's dramatic change. Or of course, there's a big problem with drug use. If they start to use drugs, there's an alarm here with all these thoughts.
Absolutely. Now, if somebody, and I remember when I was in Texas, and I've written quite a bit about mental illness, the issue with medication. Some people think that I'm taking the medication, I'm healed, which is really not the case. Medication only manages mental illness. Is that correct?
Well, medication is a big deal here. So a lot of people think, actually, we still in the stigma of not accepting medications because I'm not crazy. Let's put it this way, and it's insane everywhere. The best results we have with patients, they are compliant taking their medications. Most of the kind of the problem happens when the patients stop taking their medications. So medications is not a curative, for sure. But it's very important because there is, if the patient has some sort of a chemical imbalance, what medication does, it's put back these chemicals to the equilibrium. So it's very important to be, if the doctor prescribes medications for the patient, he or she should take it as prescribed. And then another issue here with the medications is not taking it as prescribed. So some patients don't take it at all. Other patients take it, but not as prescribed, and that can affect them too. Yes, medication is not completely curative, for sure. However, it's very, very important if the patient was or is prescribed psychiatric medication, they have to take it as prescribed.
In our community, the mental health issue is a taboo. What do you suggest the best way to spread awareness?
It's all about knowledge. So if people, me and my patients, usually I explain that mental illness is like anything else. So why you can accept that you have high blood pressure, you can accept I have diabetes, but I cannot accept having mental illness because most people don't understand that there is chemical imbalance in the brain. There is some sort of abnormality in the brain function. Most people think it's a hoax. Not most. I don't want to generalize, but many of patients think it's not a real thing, or many of communities think it's not a real thing, and they just need to be act like a man and all these things that we hear about. But it's hard to convince them until they know. I actually show them some sort of a PowerPoint and show them how the neurotransmitters or the chemicals in the brain can affect their brain and how they work, and convince them when I give them medications, they need to understand what are the medications how these medications can affect them, and what are the balance that can create in their brain. So yes, mental illness, it's all about awareness. It's all about talking about it. It's all about normalizing it, because people think, I have patients who are have symptoms of selling drugs, and they can accept the community talking about them as like drug dealers, but they cannot accept community talking about them that they are mentally ill. So it's really a hard issue, but I believe it's getting better. That's what I see.
Yeah. Is there anything I haven't asked you that is important for people to know?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Is there anything I have not asked you that's important for our listeners to know?
Oh, no. No, thank you. You're good. I think we
Dr. Kamel, I really appreciate you taking the time to be with us. I want to thank you so much for getting up early to be with us this morning.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Life is a nonprofit charity that's provided humanitarian aid and development to people and communities for over 25 years, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. When disaster occurs here or around the world, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. Please help improve these efforts. Make your tax-deductible donation to Life now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. At Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic in Dearborn, we provide effective physical therapy sessions in order to limit pain and discomfort. Top Rehab provides physical therapy care for any diagnosis prescribed by a physician, and we regularly see and treat conditions such as stroke, TMJ, fibromyalgia, sciatica, joint pain, and more. We use a variety of pain management methods, including modalities, soft tissue mobilization, and therapeutic exercise. If you're in need of physical rehabilitation or physical therapy, get the highest quality health care at Top Rehab. Most insurance is accepted, and we're open Monday, Wednesday, and Friday 8 to 6, Tuesday and Thursday 8 to 5, and Saturday 10 till 2. Call for an appointment today at 313-846-0555. That's 313-846-0555. Choose Top Rehab Physical Therapy Clinic on Michigan Avenue in Dearborn. Life's too short to be in pain.
Are you going to start a restaurant or grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Naji Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Naji Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Naji Abood, 734-744-9796.
Are your hands feeling numb? Do you feel pain opening up a jar, turning a key? Are you noticing that your elbow and your shoulder are becoming stiff? Or were you recently injured in your arm? Hello, I'm Dr. Allegany County, and at the Katranji Hand Center, which just recently opened down the street from the Somerset Mall, we can provide you with the latest in hand, wrist, elbow, and shoulder care. Visit us at www.katranjihandcenter.com to learn the latest techniques that we have to offer you, and I look forward to taking care of you.
Visit us in Troy at 1565 West Big Beaver Road, Building F, or call Katranji Hand Center for an appointment at 248-869-4263. That's 248-869-4263.
Welcome back, and thank you for being with us. I want to thank Dearborn Police Chief Ron Haddad for being with us this morning, talking about the mass shootings and what we need to do to protect ourselves. Also, I'd like to thank Dr. Mohamed Kamel, who joined us to talk about mental illness, and for the valuable information both guests have shared. And thank you to Mike for great production. I really appreciate it. And to keep in mind, first, mass shootings could happen anywhere. And it's going to take, just like the chief said, it's going to take all of us working together as a community, as a mosque, as a church, as a synagogue, as everybody, as businesses, if we recognize any signs that could lead to mass shooting, we need to report it immediately. And if we end up caught up in a mass shooting situation, normally police would yell mass shooting, active mass shooting, or active shooting on site or something like that. So get away. This is not the time to try to find out what's going on. Just get away, because when bullets start whizzing around, bullets have no eyes. They're not gonna really skip you. So especially if you're there with your children, with your family, just get away as much as possible. If you can hide. If you can stay away. This is and report it. Be the first to report it if you see or hear anything that is suspicious. And as Dr. Kamel said, is mentally ill in general. Mentally ill people don't really commit violent crimes, but those who are experiencing certain issues and develops into a certain ideology, they do act on those ideologies or those really thoughts that they have, and they may commit crimes in general. The number is tied to that is very, very small. And if we recognize change in behavior, if we recognize things that are out of the ordinary, there is nothing wrong with asking our loved ones what's going on. Sometimes all it takes is somebody to talk to. All it takes is somebody to say, a reassurance to say everything's going to be okay. And if we notice that it is getting worse and it is getting serious, people missing school, missing work, their life is different, I think we need to help them get some help. They need, this is when the professionals need to get in. And keep in mind, mental illness is not a behavioral issue. Mental illness is a disease. And we need to accept it as a disease, and we need to treat it as a disease. So again, it's very important that we do that. It's very important that we keep an eye on it. Our family, friends, and neighbors, our responsibility. If we notice something that's unusual, we should really try to, as much as possible, try to help in a very subtle way. Again, thank you to everyone who was on the show, and thanks to Jerry for calling, and thanks to all the listeners this morning. It's Friday. I wish you safe weekend and happy fasting, and we'll talk to you next week, inshallah. Bye now.